In public life, when someone is accused of wrongdoing, they almost always try to defend against threats to their image. Maybe they deny, shift blame, minimize, or even take responsibility, but those defenses rarely end the controversy. They often spark a new round of criticism, not aimed at the original act, but at the defense itself. That counter response is what I call antapologia, or response to apologia. It's not just more attack, but an attempt to tear down or delegitimize the apologia. Antapologia works in two ways. First, it can strengthen the kategoria, making the original accusation land even harder. Or second, it can weaken the apologia, undermining the credibility or adequacy of the defense. The first strategy for strengthening the kategoria is to identify concessions in the apologia. Critics highlight what the defense admits to, and then they use that admission to reinforce the attack. When Tiger Woods confessed in 2010 to having extramarital affairs, media commentary focused obsessively on the number of women he slept with, using his own concession as proof of guilt, and it was a way to keep the accusations alive. The team of reporters at Cosmopolitan magazine, one of our most revered sources for credible news, wrote, according to reports across the pond surrounding the scandal-plagued sports star Tiger Woods, the golfer has confessed to cheating with as many as 120 women during his 5-year marriage to Swedish model Ellen Nordegren. This passage is meant to lock in the number so that future image repair efforts cannot vacillate or minimize that number. The second strategy for strengthening the kategoria is refining the attack. Instead of simply repeating the original accusation, critics sharpen it to show it's even worse than they originally suggested. When Andrew Cuomo defended himself against sexual harassment allegations by saying hugs and kisses were cultural, critics refined the attack by reframing the behavior as predatory rather than affectionate. The New York Attorney General Letitia James' independent investigation identified Cuomo's behavior not merely as inappropriate, but part of a discriminatory and predatory culture of misconduct. That phrasing suggests that his office culture wasn't just occasionally creepy, but abusive. In this way, the kategoria becomes stronger than it was before. Now let's move into the strategies for weakening the apologia. The first strategy is to argue that the apologia is untrue. This is when critics argue that parts of the image repair are factually false. During Deflategate, Tom Brady denied knowing about deflated footballs. Yet critics pointed to equipment manager testimony and ball pressure data that contradicted him, saying flatly his apology just wasn't true. Specifically, Brian Dawkins, the Hall of Fame safety who anchored the Philadelphia Eagles defense for more than a decade, dismissed Tom Brady's denial as implausible, saying, "This is unbelievable. For you to not know what you touch every play? The equipment manager is being thrown under the bus now. Now he's the guy." Dawkins' argument bolsters the case that Brady's apologia is untrue by underscoring the implausibility of a quarterback not noticing the feel of the football he handles on every play, making his denial sound like a deflection rather than the actual truth. The second strategy is to argue that the accused has contradicted previous apologia strategies. Mary Dejevsky, then the Washington correspondent for The Independent and a veteran foreign and diplomatic editor, opened her report on Clinton's televised admission with the blunt line, after 7 months of denials, President Bill Clinton was reported last night to have admitted an improper physical relationship with former White House trainee Monica Lewinsky. This quote exemplifies the strategy of contradicting previous apologia strategies because it highlights the stark reversal from Clinton's earlier categorical denials to an admission of misconduct, undermining the consistency of his defense and eroding his credibility. The third strategy is to argue that the apologia does not take adequate responsibility. In 2021, a deadly crowd crush occurred during Travis Scott's Astroworld Festival in Houston, Texas, when a surge of concert goers pushed toward the stage. The tragedy claimed the lives of 10 people and injured hundreds more, sparking outrage because of inadequate crowd control and safety measures. Attorney Richard Mithoff, who represented one of the bereaved families after the Astroworld tragedy, rejected Travis Scott's initial statement of being devastated as falling short of accountability, saying, "That's not an apology. That's not taking responsibility. An adequate apology would be to say, I'm responsible and here's what I'm going to do about it." This quote exemplifies the strategy of not taking adequate responsibility because it highlights how Scott's words of sympathy were judged insufficient without an accompanying acceptance of blame and concrete corrective action. The fourth strategy is to suggest that the apologia reflects character flaws of the accused. In 1960, an American U-2 spy plane piloted by Francis Gary Powers was shot down over Soviet territory, exposing U.S. aerial espionage and triggering a Cold War diplomatic crisis. After the U.S. tried to justify its U-2 reconnaissance flights as necessary for national security, Soviet leaders reframed this as evidence of moral failure rather than a reasonable defense. Soviet leader Nikita Khrushchev argued, driven into a corner by irrefutable facts and substantive proof, the American authorities were forced to confess, but they confessed like brazen aggressors, lacking even a glimmer of ordinary human morality. This illustrates the strategy well because Khrushchev reframed the U.S. justification as not only inadequate, but as proof of arrogance on the part of several key U.S. figures, including President Dwight D. Eisenhower and the Secretary of Defense. The fifth strategy is to defend against attacks made in the apologia, what Benoit calls attacking the accuser in his theory. Often, an apologia contains counterattacks, accusing critics of bias or bad motives, and Antapologia responds by undermining those counterattacks. As CNBC reported on September 29, 2018, when Elon Musk defended himself against SEC fraud charges, he argued that regulators were guilty of overreach. But critics quickly reframed his defense, saying, Musk's attacks on the SEC are just a deflection, showing a refusal to take responsibility. This reaction illustrates the Antapologia strategy of defense against attacks made in the apologia because it neutralizes Musk's attempt to redirect blame toward regulators and instead casts his counterattack as evidence of irresponsibility. The sixth strategy is to argue that harm will come from the apologia itself. In this case, the argument is that the defense not only fails to repair the situation, but actually deepens the damage. The implication is that the wrongdoer's words are actually worse than their actions. Comedian Kevin Hart came under fire in late 2018 when a series of his old tweets containing homophobic jokes resurfaced shortly after he was announced as the host of the Academy Awards. Instead of issuing a fresh apology, Hart initially refused, saying he had already addressed it, which drew sharp backlash. As Rolling Stone reported on December 7, 2018, his refusal to apologize caused more harm to LGBTQ communities than silence would have. This reaction illustrates the Antapologia strategy of harm will come from apologia itself because Hart's defense backfired by amplifying the very offense it sought to diffuse, compounding the harm instead of repairing it. The seventh strategy is arguing that there is some kind of motive behind the apologia. In this strategy, critics undermine an apology by claiming it is driven by self-interest or public relations rather than sincerity. In 2018, Facebook faced intense scrutiny after the Cambridge Analytica scandal revealed that millions of users' data had been improperly harvested and misused. Nate Cardoza, a senior staff attorney at the Electronic Frontier Foundation, a respected digital rights advocacy group, responded shortly afterwards, saying, "It strikes me as a company that is trying to weather a PR storm and then get back to business as usual and hoping their users forget this ever happened." This illustrates the Antapologia strategy of arguing motive behind the apologia because critics reframed Zuckerberg's apology as hollow and self-serving, weakening its credibility by casting doubt on his sincerity. The eighth strategy is arguing that the apologia mirrors earlier speeches and/or events. Critics use this when they claim a defense is recycled or formulaic rather than a sincere response to new accusations. In Lance Armstrong's case, he consistently denied doping throughout his cycling career, repeating nearly identical language even as mounting evidence contradicted him. As documented in the U.S. Anti-Doping Agency's reasoned decision in 2012, Armstrong's denials were delivered in nearly identical terms for years, sounding scripted and rehearsed rather than authentic responses to new evidence. This illustrates the Antapologia strategy of mirroring earlier speeches because Armstrong's repetitive defenses were mocked as hollow performances, undermining his credibility by showing he was recycling excuses instead of offering genuine engagement with the charges. So, those are the full set of strategies. Identifying concessions and refining the attack function to strengthen the kategoria. Declaring the apologia as untrue, inconsistent, inadequate, contradictory, harmful, disingenuous, or recycled, all of those function to weaken the apologia. The bigger lesson here is that a defense never ends the conversation. It's an opening for more debate, more criticism, and more struggle over reputation. Antapologia helps us see how every attempt to repair image risks being turned against the wrongdoer, keeping the rhetorical battle alive well beyond the time of the initial offense.